Let's look at a major new feature in CloverETL 4.2, version control support for server projects. As with anything with the CloverETL DNA, rather than building a proprietary solution, we enable the use of standardized and open technologies. In the case of version control, SVN, Git, or any other file version control system can now be used in Designer for both local and remote server projects. Before this, you could use version control just to manage local projects. However, a full support for remote server projects wasn't available and required manual workarounds. With 4.2, you can have any project, either a local one or a remote server project, under version control easily managed from Designer. The trick we've done is that the Designer now keeps a copy of every project locally on your computer. What that means is you can use literally any tool that works with files on your disk to manipulate data originally stored on a remote server sandbox. You simply modify the local copy and CloverETL synchronizes it automatically with the associated sandbox. Even if you go offline, CloverETL will keep a journal of changes, and once you're back online, it will sync the project for you. As you can tell, this improvement is not just about version control. For example, you can use system editors like Microsoft Office to work with remote server files. But let's get back to version control. You can use standard Eclipse plugins inside Designer, such as eGit or subclips, or you can manage local copies of your projects using system commands. In this example, I'm pulling a project from GitHub into my workspace. As you can see, the label in the project name and the markers work just as you would expect. Keep in mind, I'm using a standard eGit plugin without any modifications. In the same way, I could create a new local or server project and then put it under version control using the standard eGit operations. Now let's put this project onto my CloverETL server. Instead of creating a sandbox and exporting it through File Export, I'm going to use a new shortcut. Simply right-click the project and select Convert to Server Project. This allows me to either create a brand new sandbox or use an existing one. Once that's done, notice the project remains under version control. It's also a server project now. That means all my files have been duplicated onto the server, and any subsequent changes I'll make will immediately replicate from my local copy to the server, and any updates done by others will appear in my Designer as well. It acts just like a shared file system, such as Samba or NFS, but it's actually smarter when it comes to resolving editing conflicts among users, so you don't have to worry about losing your work. Also, any operation, like running a graph, will now be happening on the server. It's important to know that the actual version control actions, like pulling and pushing requests and resolving conflicts, happen directly in the Designer on the local copy. A colleague of mine has just pushed some updates to our GitHub repository. Let's check it out and update the server. Again, I'm using standard features of the eGit plugin, like push, pull and synchronize, to see what's new and get the updates. When I'm finished in eGit, CloverETL Designer will automatically send new, modified and deleted files to the CloverETL server. Currently I have to use the Designer to do this, as of now there's no pull-push support in the server directly. Earlier, I mentioned that the Designer keeps a local copy of your sandbox. Well, that's not entirely true though. If your sandbox has large files in it, like this one, CloverETL won't bother downloading the full file unless you ask it to. By default, it will present you with just a placeholder and a preview. This keeps you safe from CloverETL stressing your network too much, and you can adjust this behavior in CloverETL preferences if needed. We hope these improvements will make your collaboration and management of CloverETL projects quicker and easier.